Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a short version podcast talking all things Pittsburgh sports. It's a volleyball night in Pittsburgh. Pitt takes on Louisville tonight in Louisville for the national semifinals. Also, Penn State and Nebraska following that. I want to get into some Pirates thoughts as well. Some fresh, an opinion, some perspective, a shift, something like that on Spencer Horwitz. I want to offer that. But first, I want to talk about the Steelers' offense and starting faster. That was something that Arthur Smith discussed yesterday in his meeting with reporters, and have some suggestions for what the Steelers can do to get off to a better start. First, want to remind you this show is brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. If you're injured in an accident, you're probably wondering what's next. For over 40 years, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped injury victims answer that question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, or dealing with insurance companies, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle what's next. Call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. All right, so there's a really good story on the Post-Gazette webpage right now talking about the Steelers' slow starts. Ray Fittipaldo wrote it, and it's an interesting discussion. If you look at Arthur Smith's offense, compare it to what the Steelers did last year, you can make a case that it's actually been pretty good. The Steelers are averaging 24 points per game. That's 11th in the NFL. That's a decent uptick over last year. The problem has been the first quarter, has been really where the points are scored. The Steelers getting behind early, and there's some scary numbers there in Ray's story. I want to outline them briefly before getting into what I would suggest they can change, but they're averaging just 3.4 points in the first quarter. It's basically the same number they averaged in first quarters last year. They haven't scored a touchdown on their opening possession all season. They have just 3 touchdowns in the first quarter this year. Problem was quite obvious Sunday in Philadelphia, right? 5 3-and-outs, on their first 5 possessions. They've led after the fourth quarter in just 3 of their games. So those are some numbers outlined in Ray's story, but how do you fix it? How do they score more points? And frankly, this Ravens game worries me. It worries me because of how the Ravens have evolved from this last meeting. It worries me because I think Lamar Jackson is probably due. His passer rating against the Steelers, 66.7, is lowest against any NFL team, but Lamar has also never seen the Steelers twice in the same season. You would think there's an opportunity to make adjustments. He's been playing lights out. You don't need me to tell you that. 34 touchdowns, 3 picks. Has a very good case for NFL MVP between him and Josh Allen. Probably a conversation for a different day. And this is going to be the analysis that you pay for and come visit us for. The Steelers are going to have to score points. They're going to have to score a lot of points to beat the best offense in the NFL. At least you would think. I mean, these games are always low scoring, but at some point, it's going to be not an 18-16 slugfest the way it was last time. So anyway, what can the Steelers do to get more points out of that first quarter? What can they do to change some things that have been happening? I loved Arthur Smith's truck analogy yesterday, saying like, we need some jumper cables. Once we get going, we're fine. Turn the engine over. I'm not a mechanic. Maybe if somebody here is a mechanic, I'm not a mechanic either, but I'm going to play a mechanic on this podcast. So the first thing I would suggest doing, Jaylen Warren, involve him more, involve him early. Some of those toss plays they're running to Najee Harris, I don't love them. I don't love them, period. But if you're going to run them, I would rather see Najee Harris do it. Those are zone read plays, or I'm sorry, I'd rather see Najee Harris. I'd rather see Jaylen Warren do it. Toss plays and zone reads and that sort of stuff on the outside, somebody to hit the hole a little quicker. That screams Jaylen Warren to me. And as the Steelers look at this game, likely without George Pickens, I would be very surprised if he plays at this point. I think a lot of people would, but I would lean into the two. I think that is a strength of the Steelers that they haven't necessarily tapped into as much as they can or would like or would benefit them or whatever. Involve Jaylen Warren more and do it earlier. The second thing is something that I've been beating this drum. A lot of people in town have been beating this drum. Mike Williams. Where is Mike Williams? Calvin Austin has come along nicely. If he was your number 3, again, it's fine. I don't love the way the Steelers have handled that second wide receiver spot. I think there's areas, if we look at this team sort of step back at this season, that's one that has not been a strength. That's an area where Omar Khan, at this point, I would say fell short. But involve Mike Williams. Try to go downfield more. Stretch the field. Take the top off the defense. Somebody has to win a one-on-one battle a la George Pickens. I like Mike Williams' chances to do it. Number 3, become less predictable. One of the things we saw in the Eagles game, and it's had various shades at various times this season, when the Steelers were under center, they ran the ball. When they were in the shotgun, they threw it. That was like above an 80% clip each way against the Eagles. Have to balance that out. Run out of the shotgun. I know it irritates some people. Throw from under center. It is okay. Break some tendencies. Number 4 is tight end usage. We've seen Pat Fryermuth's role increase, and that's great, and it should, and I'm all for throwing him the ball. Involve Darnell Washington more. Involve Connor Hayward more. Involve Michael Pruitt more. And I realize the last two are kind of, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth or I'm being hypocritical, but there are ways to get those guys out in the flat, to scheme them open, to come up with high percentage passes. No, they're not going to gain 15, 20 yards, but they might gain 4 or 5 and put you in an advantageous situation for second down, for third down, that sort of stuff. So there are some ways, and I'd like to see them engineer fluidity, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, a little bit better against the Ravens. All right, we're going to take our mid-roll break. On the other side, my thoughts on Pitt, Penn State, the way things are shaping up for a fun volleyball Thursday in Pittsburgh. But first, a message from the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
Welcome back to First 10. I'm Jason Mackey. We're here in the middle of the morning, Monday through Friday, talking all things Pittsburgh sports. So let's get into some volleyball talk. I'm excited for this one. I'm guessing you're excited as well. In Louisville, national semifinals, Pitt and Louisville tip off at 6:30, or first serve, I should say, at 6:30. I don't think anybody's tipping a volleyball, at least not in the opening. It's really fun. It really is, and I think there's going to be a great national TV audience. I'm curious to see what the attention is even on social media for this one, but it's become a really great rivalry. Pitt and Louisville, I wrote a little bit about this yesterday in a piece comparing Pitt volleyball and Penn State football. I see them in similar spots. They're trying to break through this glass ceiling and what they've been limited, how they've been limited over the past couple of years. But the arch nemesis of Pitt volleyball largely has been Louisville. They meet in the playoffs every year. They've already met twice this year. It's a tall task. Trying to beat any team in any sport 3 times in a season. Geez, we could be talking about that same sort of thing with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson over on the Steelers side. But it's a tall task. I almost said the Pirates, not the Pirates. The Panthers have won a 5-set match against Louisville this season. They've won a 4-set match, and it should be very exciting. Look for Olivia Babcock to play a big role in this one, leading the ACC in kills per set. On Friday, could be named the AVCA Player of the Year. Anna DeBeer is the counterpoint on Louisville's team, all-regional team, most outstanding player, had over 15 kills in her last 3 matches. Again, it should be a lot of fun. We've been cranking out some really cool Pitt volleyball content, Penn State volleyball content as well. Abby Schnabel did a great story on Rachel Fairbanks, Pitt setter, and her path to the Panthers. I really like King Jemison's story as well on Katie Schumacher-Colley, the Penn State coach who's battling cancer and sort of delivering an inspiring story to her team. So who knows? We could have Pitt Penn State for the national title in volleyball. That wouldn't stink. All right, one final thought about the Pirates and talking about Spencer Horwitz. He met with reporters over Zoom yesterday, said he really feels wanted in Pittsburgh, sees a great opportunity here. He's not going to take anything for granted, but he's going to work his butt off to try to make an impression. Said Matt Haig was a big part of this. Matt Haig, of course, the new hitting coach for the Pirates. He worked with them in Toronto, but one of the things that got me going about Matt Haig, and I'm not going to take full credit for this. There was a story on Sportsnet in Toronto talking about Spencer Horwitz and the impact that he had on the Blue Jays. And it was basically, I'm going to say this kindly because it was a complimentary story. He's one of those players that does a little bit of everything well and nothing great. But when you add it up, it's a pretty good player. And I think Spencer Horwitz warrants a second look. And no, I'm not signing off or endorsing the trade. I don't like trading the amount of young pitching that the Pirates did to get what they got back. I'm not saying that. If it was Luis Ortiz for Horwitz straight up, I'd be okay with it. If it was 2 top 20 prospect pitchers for Horwitz, I'd be okay with it. And I think it irritates people because they want to see the Pirates spend a little bit more money. The Pirates are trotting out Spencer Horwitz as a solution, and then people get mad. But if you take a little closer look at Horwitz, it's not all terrible. And I know that's sort of the most Pirates endorsement ever. But seriously, there's a stat, WRC plus. I won't get into the innards of it, but know that 100 is league average. So if you're significantly below, that's bad. If you're significantly above, that's bad. In that Sportsnet story, they looked at players with at least 300 plate appearances, rookies, since 1977. And they, on the Toronto side, quantified where Spencer Horwitz ranked. Well, I decided to do the same on the Pirates side. And since 1977, here are the leaders of rookies in WRC plus with at least 300 plate appearances. Garrett Jones, 142. Jason Bay, 133. Brian Reynolds, 130. Jung Ho Gung, 128. Andrew McCutchen, 122. Again, Spencer Horwitz last year, 127. So you're basically saying he's slightly below Jung Ho Gung's rookie season. That's not bad. It's better than Andrew McCutchen. It's slightly below Brian Reynolds. Jackson Merrill, who was neck and neck with Paul Skeens. And again, it's the right move to have Paul Skeens for the NL Rookie of the Year. But if you would have went with Jackson Merrill, I don't think a lot of people throughout baseball would have been that upset. Jackson Merrill was at 130. Spencer Horwitz was at 127. So can get mad. Can be mad about the Pirates, but there might be some validity here. I'm a little bit more curious to see where this goes after reading that story. We'll talk about that and so much more. I'll be back here on Friday morning. Thanks so much for checking out First 10. Make sure you like and subscribe. You can get all of this content and so much more from our Post-Gazette, North Shore Drive podcast and YouTube channels. Talk to you. Talk a little volleyball on Friday morning, guys. Thanks for watching First 10.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.